Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Best Thing Ever, a podcast about the stuff our friends like. We are a show where we take a topic so that somebody thinks might be the best thing ever. We ask them to explain it to us in the deep dive. We break it down, and then we rank it on the master list of best things ever. And I don't know what's coming up on this, so I'm going to give you the same preview that I gave you last week. There's going to be a thing, another thing, and then yet another unrelated thing. That's what you can expect on the show today.
Hell yeah.
So true.
This is episode 18. We are talking about arcades. We're talking about the video arcade, the classic place in the back of a sex shop where you put in a quarter and you watch a video for 3 minutes. Is that what you
Yeah, dude, we're going to be talking about good porn today.
Yeah.
it is weird that they use the same name for that.
Yeah, the saddest employee ever has to go and clean out the booths. And, you know, ideally, Alex, I don't know if you know this, but the idea is that, like, you don't go to an arcade to, like, do it by yourself, right? The idea is you meet somebody in the store, you exchange looks, and then you meet in the arcade room, right? Like, people don't go into the arcade rooms.
Interesting.
I mean, some people probably do, but it's like that like culture and scene of that is more about like we're hanging out in a pawn shop that has an arcade with little booths in the back.
Anthony, I think you're very used to explaining. I feel like you're very used to explaining something to Alex that he did not know, but I just want you to know that was a pretty weird set of knowledge that you have, actually. So you kind of did it like dumb Alex doesn't already know that you, but like actually that was kind of a weird thing for you to know about. Just want to say for the record.
It's a weird thing to come out swinging with. I know.
Yeah,
I
came out hot today.
Everybody knows.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about video games in a big room. Let me introduce you to the panel. I'm your host, Alex Falcone. I'm going to introduce everybody in a game that I call Two Hosts and a Lie. So I'm going to give you a fun fact about each of your three hosts today, and one of them will not be true. So I'm Alex Falcone. I'm a comedian, and my fun fact is that I used to run a website about pinball machines. Related fact. Interesting. Or not. Also joining us today, our resident historian, Mr. Anthony Lopez. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Anthony's fun fact is that he worked as a game tester on Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Yep. The youngest game tester, Rockstar London. I believe that's where the game was produced. Rockstar North in London. I was the youngest game tester they ever had. I was like 12 years old when the game came out, so looking really old on it. Long hours.
Ezra was a game tester when he was 4 or 5. That was his first ever
so this
job,
wouldn't be
which
that
we did a
weird.
few weeks ago. This would not be that weird. Also joining us, definitely a true fact, that one. Also joining us, our board game influencer, Mr. Hunter Donaldson. Welcome back, Hunter.
Yeah, hey, what's up?
We've missed you. A fun fact about you is that you once did a speed run of Mario 3 that would have made it to the top 100 leaderboard. Would have, didn't, but could have if it had been submitted to the record-holding body.
Would have had I recorded it and submitted it to someone, and I just felt like I was just having a day where I was like, wow, I'm getting some real good momentum on this, and I don't think it's I don't think this fact is impressive just for any gamers in the audience, but it surprised me when I saw my time at the end of it.
It does remind me, though, it makes me want to, like, have you guys ever thought, like, what one question would you want answered if you just had, like, infinite knowledge, but that you could never it's not possible answer, but if you were just, like, omnipotent, what would be a fun thing to know?
Okay, yeah.
One question that look through the code of the Matrix.
Exactly. One question that I might ask is, show me all the people who have world records that no one knows about. Like, how many people have run a mile faster than the fastest recorded mile time, but they were, like, running from a tiger, and so no one, stopwatched it or whatever. Like, what are all the secret world record holders that aren't recorded?
Has anyone ever actually accidentally ate 62 hot dogs in one sitting?
Because they were.
It wasn't a contest. Yeah, they were just having a weird night, dude. That's all that was happening.
They just kept eating hot dogs, and then all of a sudden they were like, I think I broke the world record.
I mean, that one is probably like 30, 40 years ago. That was more likely. All world records have, like, ratcheted up so far, but I bet there are some other things where people, like, broke a world record. Yeah, somebody made the world's largest pizza pie and doesn't realize it. That's probably unlikely too. But there are some.
Most records in, like, Guinness are like paid for.
Yeah,
right?
all Guinness, all Guinness World Records.
Oh yeah, Guinness is
for.
BS.
How many people haven't been able to get a world record because they couldn't pay the fee, the piper?
That's one of those organizations. It didn't used to be, but now it's like the minimum to break a world record is $30,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's how expensive.
Well, there are like packages because you don't pay to submit your time; you pay to have a Guinness World Record breaking event. And so they'll do. There's like a cheap package where they just like put it on their blog and put it on the website or whatever. But then there's also like we have a party, we have official people there, we live stream it, like all that. I think the smaller packages are in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Can I ask Hunter some real nerdy questions about his Mario 3 speedrun?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So what category would it have?
100%. It would have been a 100% speed run, and that's why I wasn't. I had my time, but I wasn't. That was just for fun, and I didn't think that I would be able to actually do it that fast. So I didn't really even think about it. And then when it was over, I was like, "Wow, well, I just messed up big time." Because it's not like I'm going to continue playing Mario 3 at the level I was. So
yeah. Well, did you use any like strats you saw for it, or was it just like you played the game so much,
Nope.
you know it really well? This is all stuff you just kind of developed.
Yeah, it proved to me that if I did my research, I probably could be a decent, at least 100% run, or probably not. I'm not really a glitch guy, so I would probably stick in the 100% category. Also, I just love everything about Mario 3. So the idea of like skipping any piece of it, that just seems asinine to me. But yeah,
so
I don't know.
Everyone at home is like anxiously waiting to find out which of our 3 facts was true. There's no way you would know at this point which of the 3 facts were true, but you'll find out if you listen to the end of the show. We'll talk about in the end credits.
I just wanted, to throw out there, like, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have played San Andreas, but like, it's a pretty like non-glitchy game, and I'm very good at my
wow,
work.
yeah.
I'm a very efficient guy. Like the fact that you can like get into a plane, jump out, parachute, land on the Golden Gate Bridge, grab a rocket, jetpack, and go and try to find Sasquatch. Like that's all stuff that was like you can do that for a reason.
Yeah.
And also, the only way someone would know that is if they'd play tested the game. All right, let's jump into the show. I'm very excited to do this, to see this episode today. So today we're talking about arcades. This is one of Hunter's topics that we picked in the topic draft. Hunter, let's start with your core memory. What is your like earliest or strongest or like most impactful memory of arcades?
Oh, see, I sort of baked this into the presentation. I think I didn't remember what core memory was. But I've gone, this is all gonzo journalism today. You will learn nothing of the overall story of the arcade, as it were. I don't give a shit about.
Anthony, do you have a core memory about arcades?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I spent a lot of time in arcades when I feel like our generation was like, there was some specialized arcades when we were growing up, but when I was a kid, it was mostly like the mall had an arcade. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't,
that's where they were.
Back in the 80s, there was a lot more sort of standalone arcades. I sort of missed that, but I definitely spent a lot of time at arcades as a kid. Have a lot of great memories of playing.
Do you have a game that you played the most? What did you gravitate towards in the mall? You played a lot of Time Crisis?
Well, I was a big fan of like the Mortal Kombat games at a mall.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of like the co-op, like 4-player X-Men or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Simpsons.
Or the Simpsons
oh yeah,
game
that TMNT game was super fun.
I know, unlike you, we've talked about this before. I was never like I didn't really understand pinball until you explained it to me one night when we were out. You really kind of explained to me how the game works there, So I was never a real pinball guy, but definitely like the cooperative games.
My one of the weird things for me, because I grew up in Reno, and one of the things about Reno is that it's full of casinos, and what all the casinos have really great arcades because the parents just drop their kids off and leave and then go lose their college fund upstairs.
Yeah.
So every one of them has as a babysitter a really good arcade, which also is a double impact because a lot of arcade games teach you how to lose money to machines, which is what they need in the main floor of the casino. So it's both your babysitter and your training system.
I grew up in a really my parents liked to gamble, and we would go to casinos a lot. So I spent a lot of times in arcades like that. I also ran an arcade for 8 years.
You did? You ran a nickel arcade?
Wow.
Yeah, which was, a lot of I always pushed for more of the conventional games, but like the ticket games definitely were kind of more of the bread and butter of the place.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was also sort of like the last generation of ticket game people that like actually still had tickets, actually still took change.
Yeah.
Still took real physical currency. Not everything was on a little plastic code like it is now.
Yeah. Oh man, the tokens. Well, this was so the main arcade that I went to was at the then Hilton, now Grand Sierra Resort, had a big arcade that had laser tag, which I also played a ton of, but it was next to, in this little mall under the casino, it was next to a pizza place, and my buddy worked at the pizza place, and so he would trade pizza under the table for buckets of arcade tokens. So there were summers where we ran that place. We could play any game for hours and hours and hours for free. So that was the year, like those were the years where I got really good at arcade games. I at one point had a lot of tickets because that was the way to turn the bucket of change into actual value, is you could run them through the ticket machines. And so I got very good at some like dump truck ticket machines and some stuff like that. But mostly we played pinball because the pinball is the best part of the arcade. But I really want to hear Hunter's core memory, so let's get into it. Hunter, you've got a presentation for us. So why don't you give us the Gonzo journalism deep dive into arcades as seen from Hunter's point of view?
I just want to say real quick at the top, welcome to the Old Gamers Almanac. I'm Hunter Donaldson. I'm joined today by two video weirdos, and we're going to talk about the arcade experience, specifically mine. This photo that we're starting off with is a photo from the Pines Mall in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. This was taken sometime in the 1990s. Aladdin's Castle, of course, was a chain of arcades you could find in malls. And this was not really the heyday of arcades, but it was in kind of the waning period, sort of like what Anthony was talking about before. There were a lot of birthday parties I did here. In fact, this was the only place I ever wanted to ever do a birthday party. And in fact, I was told repeatedly that it could not be here every single time. But this is where I wanted it to be.
When you think of Aladdin, is the first thing you think of a castle?
I guess I'm not really sure why it's called Aladdin's Castle, because in the story,
weird different times.
Aladdin's not really a castle guy.
I don't think so.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
does he get a castle later at some point that I'm not aware of?
Not in the movie.
I really like the aesthetic of this place. Like I feel like a lot of like the font choice up on the top, the way it's lit.
The bright, like every color from every direction lights. The checker, there's like a checker pattern outlining the whole thing, and then just big windows where you can see in and just see like this fuck of lights.
There's like this aesthetic you want at an arcade, right? Like you don't want it to be. You want like a low ceiling, so like the noise is just kind of cacophonous.
Really hit you.
You don't want bright lights. You want like dark lights.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You want to like. You ever seen like a Japanese pachinko parlor, which are like basically like huge arcades. It's just people just chain smoking. The room's just filled with smoke. The lights really dark. Like that is kind of like the feel.
Oh, this also has this picture has like it's black carpet with bright neon lines and weird shapes all over. Even the carpet is loud in this arcade.
Yeah, it's 80s. It's beautiful. Yeah. I'll say something, just to disagree with y'all a little bit. I hated when I was a kid, and still today, the sharing of space between the ticket machines and the real video games.
Oh, I don't think this is hated. I think Anthony completely agrees with you, and I generally agree with you too. I just was trying to turn this fake money into real money, and that was the most efficient path.
Right.
But I'm all games, no tickets normally.
You were grifting, but
I was grifting.
So for me, and especially if you look at this photo, you can see like mostly it's ticket machines up top, up front. But then beyond that, they had a pretty good selection, especially for where we were at, which was Pine Bluff, Arkansas. If you don't know anything about Pine Bluff, Arkansas, it's where I was born, so it should be important to you in that way.
That's the top of the Wikipedia page.
I was born in Jefferson County Hospital. The doctor's name was Ron, who delivered me. I pissed all over him in my first act as a kinky person. I pissed on him, and I remember I liked it. I liked that. And Ron was used to it. He didn't.
Yeah, he was used to it.
He was used to it. He's been pissed on before. At work and not at work, if you know what I'm saying.
He didn't even change his shoes. He just went.
He
to the
didn't even
next
change his
person
shoes.
with your piss sloshing around in his shoes. He had to go work on the next patient.
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's funny. That's so gross.
Yeah. It's gross, but it's real and it's true.
If you're gonna get peed on by anyone, a fresh baby is like literally the best case
scenario. The cleanest piss.
Well, because also, did you know that babies in utero drink their own pee continuously?
I did know that because I remember doing it.
When they're in the like later terms of the pregnancy, I read this recently, and I hate it. Because this is where we all came from, but you're just floating in goo, and you just drink the goo and pee into the goo, and it's the same goo, and so you're just babies are just cycling urine through the system. So that pee that you peed on him, you knew what it tasted like.
Oh yeah, that's why I was sharing it with them because I knew the flavor.
You're like, hey, this is nutritious for me. What do you think?
Babies are sort of just like astronauts, but on the inside.
So true.
Person.
That's so true.
Kind of the same deal.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good point.
So in order to or not necessarily to contrast, in parallel with the state of the arcade, I want to show you, if we scroll down to our next series of photos here, here are some photos I've collected of the Pines Mall, Pine Bluff, Arkansas today. Now, I could not find a photo of where the Aladdin's Castle was, but this is a dead, horrifying, horror movie mall.
Yeah, very horror movie, classic decay.
To keep it on video games, it looks like a level out of The Last of Us.
It really does look like The Last of Us mall for sure.
It looks like the mall from The Last of Us. Is
what
it looks like.
Before they found the light switch.
Yeah. Right. So that's horrifying. And so it's sad to me that the original place that I encountered the arcade experience is completely dead and forgotten. However, that being said, today, if this is all about Arkansas today for some reason, if you live in Fayetteville, Arkansas, there's a place called Arcadia Retrocade, which is a beautiful place that you can go on North College Avenue and find. It's by Tacos for Life. It's by Tacos for Life. If you want to get tacos, then go to Arcadia Retrocade.
This is like the numeral 4.
Yeah, I think it is the numeral 4. Tacos for Life. And this is kind of this business, Arcadia Retrocade, is owned by this man named Shay Mathis, and he's like a eccentric weirdo collector of arcade cabinets. Cool. Wonderful guy. Love him a lot. He charges $5 cash to enter. All the machines are set to free play, and you cannot buy food, drinks, or alcohol because he doesn't care about that.
Yeah. Weird thing about it, though, it's $5 to enter. It's $20 to leave.
$20 to leave. That's it's a bit of a scam.
Or you have to beat Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, that's enough of an overview for arcades. That's a wrap on it. Y'all basically get it.
Yeah.
Everyone already knows what they are. I don't really care about teaching anyone anything. And I would like to spend the rest of my time giving you my top 11 arcade cabinets of all time.
Classic list style.
This is a ranked list. Very important to me, the ranking here. I'm very serious about it. I thought about this 2 hours almost. Almost 2 hours. Maybe like an hour and a half.
I'm super impressed.
Super tight list. It has a little bit of everything in it, and I haven't left anything out. Go ahead, Anthony.
Well, I got a few questions. One, can we get a few runners up, just real fast off the top of your head, if you have?
If you want to, you want my honorable mentions, or you want to honorably mention?
No, I want your honorable mentions, and then I want to, if you know what's the oldest arcade game on this list, and what's the. Now, you don't have to tell me what the game is, but the years between like the oldest and the newest arcade game to go on this list?
Yeah.
Like, is there anything from the post-2000s, if they even made much, Well,
okay, so the newest is probably 2021 or 2022, and then the oldest is, I think, 78.
Okay.
I might be wrong.
Related question. If you go into a new arcade right now, Hunter...
Yeah.
Are there games from the last 10 years that you play? Are there recent innovations in arcade games that you are stoked about? Or do you play exclusively retro arcade games?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's not really a lot of new good arcade games to play that aren't like exclusively in Japan at this point. But I go to a lot of indie weird game stuff where I can play weird arcade cabinets.
I feel like there was
are new.
This is not 5 years. This is last 20 years or whatever. But there were a lot more like it's a dinosaur hunting game. It takes up 2/3 of the room. You all wear big helmets and the truck rattles and like that kind of stuff.
I find that stuff to be a little bit trashy.
Yeah,
It just doesn't quite hit. Like, there's like a Halo. I think Dave and Buster's has this like hardcore like Halo experience that you like sit down in, and it just at a certain point, all of that stuff just makes me feel like I am literally now just playing like a home console video game with like a weird peripheral, and that's all that's happening.
Yeah, I mean the kind of interesting stuff, like Hunt said, is the stuff that comes from Japan.
Yeah.
Like the like obviously stuff like Dance Dance Revolution was like a very interesting, different type. What's the like Guitar something? The game that like inspired Guitar Hero. It's like a
Guitar
Japanese...
Man.
Yeah, Guitar Man.
Yeah,
it's like, It was like it had a plastic guitar, and like it's funny that Guitar Hero is now an arcade game. Like it's come full.
Yeah. The cutting edge stuff when I was going to arcades, still from Japan, obviously, but like the cutting edge things were like, what was like Time Crisis 4 or whatever. But the pedal where you duck when you take your foot off the pedal, which I love.
Yeah.
But there was also a game called Police 911 that was brand new when I was a kid, where it had sensors behind you and above you. And when you physically ducked, the character ducked. And you could dodge left and right to dodge bullets. And we were smoking good at that game. That game was super fun, though. I love that game. That was a game that we were like... It's one of those games where you get to a certain point and it just shoots you before you can react, like before you move, because it just needs to stop you from continuing any further along this game. There was also a game that I loved that was a safari hunting game where you're hunting endangered animals.
I know this.
And there was some sort of like you had to throw a net and it was a big chunky thing on the arcade cabinet that you moved. But the best part of it was in America, they changed the look of the game so you would shoot them with a gun and then the animal would go, "Oh," and then live in a zoo. It would be like you'd shoot him in the head and then the elephant would be like, "Puh, you got me," lum blum blum, and then he would jump in the back of the truck and he'd be all happy and then they'd take him to a zoo.
Beautiful.
You were saving endangered animals to put them in a safety area.
Yeah,
Ooh, we're going to talk about a little bit of censorship on this list.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I was always like kind of looked down on sort of the big buck hunters until I worked at an arcade for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I got really good at Big Buck Hunter. That's a pretty good arcade game.
I guess
like,
that's true. So that's something that's getting new versions. Like there's new Big Buck Hunters, and there's new the golf game that bros play at arcades. I was just gonna say,
secretly that the golf
Golden Tee.
Golden Tee and Big Buck Hunter are fucking huge.
Yeah. Those are and those have like national rankings and tournaments and like they're all interconnected and they do a bunch of like modern cool stuff with that. I don't like either of them particularly much myself, but those are big ones that exist. But I don't like. I would never play a game where you hurt an animal. Now I'm a vegetarian in real life and in video games. I play Zelda without ever eating meat. Like I'm a Zelda freegan at least. I'll eat meat if I find it by a campfire, but I won't kill it myself. But like I'm a Zelda freegan. I also like when I'm in an arcade, I'll put $1 in a Big Buck Hunter just to let the deer have some time to themselves. I won't touch the gun.
Nice.
Just let them frolic around. Just like it's been so stressful there.
Right.
And sometimes I'll be like, "Run, you guys! There's hunters about." I'll try to warn them. Yeah,
go.
This is your chance.
That's what you got to do. Is what I did as a child when my father thrust into my hands a shotgun and told me to shoot a deer is to point above the deer. And shoot to scare them.
Warning shot.
Daddy don't know.
Yes.
Because Daddy can't see exactly, or maybe Daddy just think I'm bad at it.
Yeah. Daddy thinks you're
there you
bad.
go.
That's adorable. That's how
you got to do
but
it.
in real life, I love that.
Oh yeah, I've lived that joke. Is the thing. When I was like 5 or 6 years old, I was like way too young.
Oh man! All right.
Anyways, we got to do my
cabinets.
list. Yeah. Here's my top 11. This is my number 11. Coming in at number 11, we've got NBA Jam, the classic version with 4 players. That is basically just you yelling at your friends. You need 4 people for this for the full experience. You each play. It's 2-on-2 basketball.
Yeah.
You've heard the sound effects. Boom shakalaka.
This list is already on fire.
Yeah, this list is on fire. I think it's like kind of one of the funniest games you could possibly play at an arcade.
Yeah.
It's also a really stupid game. People like to claim that they're good at NBA Jam. They're not. No one is good at it. It is a bullshit game made just to fuck around. It's not a real game.
Definitely played console NBA Jam, but I did not play a lot of arcade NBA Jam. That's another weird thing is when games like this are like, or like NFL Blitz, which I played a lot at home.
Yeah.
And then be like, you want me to pay for every quarter of this game? I have to pay again per quarter for this thing I've played a million games of at home. And it's not even like, wow, it's way cooler and bigger. It's just like a harder joystick to use.
Yeah.
No, NBA Jam does not make sense as a console game. It is an arcade-only experience because you need to be able to yell.
You need to yell.
Yeah, NBA Jam is fun, and I imagine we'll see some of this on this list. But talking about like that arcade to home console experience is like because NBA Jam is such a cultural thing. Like as somebody who grew up not watching a lot of sports, I knew most basketball players through stuff like NBA Jam.
Oh, that's awesome!
Right?
Yeah.
But like because it is such a well-known IP, like every 6-7 years they try to reboot NBA Jam and it's always a disaster, right? They always try to make it for consoles. They're trying to recapture this lightning in a bottle just because it's a name that people have such fond memories of,
right?
But you just can't recreate that experience.
But the console basketball game is really popular.
I mean, people like it, but what I'm saying is you're wrong. What I'm saying is
I was asking about now though. It's not NBA Jam. What's the? Is it 2K?
No, like
what's the? Best?
There's like a bunch of different. There's like 2K, like that. Those are like sim, very realistic.
Yeah.
Those are like real life stuff. Right? Yeah.
Well, one thing
NBA
that blows
Jam,
my mind is that like basketball players in their free time play basketball games on the PlayStation, or like like international superstar soccer players will go play FIFA and see who's better at it in pretend, and that is weird to me. Like I feel like once you've scored a real life goal, the game version would not be fun and interesting, but I'm wrong. Apparently it still rules.
I mean, I go on awesome dates all the time and I still play dating simulators, you know? I'm like always going out killing it with the ladies.
That's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
You know?
Let's get on to number 10, which Anthony has actually already referenced because he is a man of taste. The X-Men 6-player double CRT weird-ass arcade cabinet.
That is a weird-looking cabinet.
Okay, so the way this cabinet works, if you'll notice, it's a very long screen, right?
Yes.
And so the way, this is the dumbest like design ever, but it does make sense. So it's one CRT that is facing you, the just normal style. And then the other CRT is actually not like, because you need two, right, to make it this long.
They're very big.
They're very, very big.
Very big. Yeah.
The other CRT is actually not facing you. It's facing away from you and is being reflected on a mirror.
Yes.
So as to make it all one seamless screen.
Rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how many arcade games are very clever uses of mirrors. There's a lot of a lot of the shooting games are using a mirror so it can detect the light straight ahead, but have the game be further down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of like old like shooting games would use like IR sensors, right?
Yes.
Right. So like your eye can't see them, but it's one of the biggest problems with like fixing old like railgun shooter games like that, because it's very hard. You have to have the COT TVs because of the refresh rates.
Right.
If you can't do those, and because like the way like old like on, if you remember, like on the shooting games on the NES, the way the screen would flash white for a second is how the gun registers. You can't really do that with modern televisions. So they have to, like, when they make modern shooting games, they had to, like, figure out new ways to track the guns. And it makes it so a lot of those old games can't be used anymore if you can't track down these specific COT television parts.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very, very interesting.
Yeah, it also means that sometimes the CRTs inside of the X-Men cabinet kind of degrade at in different ways, and it just becomes the illusion of it shatters, but in a way that makes it look really, really cool.
Yeah. Where like one of the two CRTs is like a much worse color profile.
Yeah. That there you go. We've got an example right there of what it looks like. It's so silly.
Brief aside, Hunter.
Yeah.
What did you do? Your numbering is ridiculous.
Yeah, so
9 is
very
supported by fish. I don't know how you picked the number fonts.
well, listen, this is classic internet stuff, y'all. I mean, we got to have goofy numbers to so that everything is registering in a unique and special way.
Well, it feels like walking through an arcade, right? Just this random,
just too much,
being hit by stuff everywhere you look, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
I feel like we should go on to number 9.
Yeah.
Number 9 is a super underrated game because people are idiots. It is called Root Beer Tapper. This is a game originally made by Anheuser-Busch, or not made by Anheuser-Busch, but sponsored by Anheuser-Busch. It was going to be a game about serving people Budweiser, and it was going to live specifically in bars. But then, of course, it was something that needed to go in the arcades, and people were like, there are children in arcades, so it can't be a beer game. So now it's a game about serving people root beer.
The classic thing that everybody cares a lot about. People tapping a root beer keg.
Oh, and I mean, this game is about people really wanting root beer. Really, they need it right now.
Yeah.
You got to send them this root beer.
You're opening the root beer bar at 7 a.m, and people are already, there's a couple people lined up, and you know them by name.
The control scheme to this game is like my favorite aspect of it because it is, so we have a central joystick that we use to move up and down. There are 4 little bars that we're working at the same time. This bar makes no sense. It's not, it's a game. It's the bar set up for a game. It's not set up for real life.
I see that.
And then we have a little tap, an actual tap that we push up and then down on.
Whoa, no kidding.
In order to send the root beers. And I feel like people don't spend enough time thinking about this game because it is very, very fun to play. The problem is the graphics, it looks like crap. Like, let's be real, it looks really, really bad. But it is super addictive and super fun to play and difficult to master. And that tap controller is like really, really cool, and it feels really, really good to use because you're kind of flying from bar to bar, just like popping off root beers.
Yeah,
and it's all about your momentum with doing that and making sure that you're serving everyone, but also not over serving anyone.
Right,
because if you send too many root beers, they fall off.
Yeah, they would fall over. They would have trouble driving home. They'd had too many root beers. I love it. I love that there's just a game that's like, do a job. You work now. Yeah. Do a job and gamify that. And also, like, I feel like the food game genre is underrepresented. People love Overcooked. Dude, but why don't we have a million games like that? Overcooked fucking rules. I really like Overcooked. I've played a lot of Overcooked.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, Tapper is just Overcooked, but like in the 80s.
I first saw Overcooked where like chefs were playing it. A lot of actual chefs were streaming it.
Oh yeah.
And what was so fun about it was that it was like a chef and their sous chef, and they were very good at communicating. And that game is about communicating while you do the work. So they would call out orders like correctly, restaurant style. I mean, it was so fun to watch, but also the idea that's like, you know how we do this? It was just like I was saying with the soccer players. It's like, you know how we do this with real food? What if we did it on a video game on 3 hot air balloons?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, again, though, like just last week, I saved the universe from the flood and didn't deactivate the Halo, right? So, like, I still play Halo, right? Like, I do the same thing. Like, it's just like everyone does it, like, kill some Covenant, fight, the flood, all that.
I also love that the arcade, this tapper, the actual tap device, it's just a joystick, but they just made it flat instead of round. Yep. It's very clever.
Yep. It feels so good, though. The one that they have at Arcadia, I can't recommend enough. It's been very well maintained. And it might be because it's not, I feel like it's never really a popular game because I'll say this, the cabinet looks ugly. Like it does, it has ugly art, just kind of has an ugly vibe to it, which is fine. It's the heart that counts to me as far as the game.
It's all heart, not art.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very kind of brown and beige. Kind of like it just kind of fades in.
Yeah,
I do like the guy on the side of it.
The guy's great.
Like
The character's awesome. He is so happy. And he's got that, like, he looks like he's in an old soda fountain. He's got the red and white striped jacket. Yeah, he's a good sport.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to number 8, which we've already kind of touched on, Alex. My big point for number 8, which is Time Crisis 2.
Time Crisis 2!
the best of the time crises.
Yes.
And Alex, your whole thing about the foot pedal is I am obsessed with. Yeah. A game where I have a foot pedal to control like a person doing anything makes me very happy.
It's so flippin' fun.
It feels so good. Letting off of the pedal to come out from cover, stepping on it to go into cover. It has this like rhythmic, almost like music game quality to it of like I pop out, shoot, shoot, I pop in, I pop out, shoot, shoot. I love this game so much.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, this is because I feel like a lot of these are going to miss me, but this is one I actually got to play a bunch of. And I mostly played 2. I know they made at least 3 and 4 arcade versions.
They made a lot.
But I don't remember. But Time Crisis 2 was the one that I played a lot of, and it's super fun. I also love just like the way those games, like that kind of shooter, where it's just like a big room and then weird criminals popping up behind boxes and then going back down. But then sometimes it's like a scientist and they jump up the same way and run through the gunfire. I'm like, don't hurt me. I'm a good guy.
Right.
Very fun style of game.
I feel like we also need to just mention really good name. Shooters. There's something about like Time Crisis, House of the Dead.
Yeah.
Just like good fucking titles. Can mean literally anything. Like there's nothing specific about them. Like Time Crisis could be anything. There's a crisis.
Yeah, you could be like, we close at 5 and we need to serve all these people root beer. We're under a time crisis.
Yeah, it's true. Anything can be a time crisis.
Right.
Yeah, I will say this, though, just real quick before we move on. I feel like one thing about light gun games like this, though, not to throw shade, obviously I put this at number 8.
Number 8's a good score.
I feel like you could put, like anyone could have their favorite light gun game, and I care not. I think they all kind of hit close enough to the same level of quality. Some of them are like objectively like too dumb to be like fun. But anything obvious, like I feel like I could even say Big Buck Hunter here, and it really would make no difference. I think these games all hit like kind of a consistent level of quality.
There was a police trainer game that I really enjoyed around the same time. That was more shooting like targets and things. What was the
Aerosmith had a rail light gun shooter.
Did it?
Yeah.
Did they? Oh, that's funny.
There was a lot of, but I mean, it really. I think like to Hunter's point, it comes down to the theme that resonates with you the most, right? As somebody who is a big horror fan, really loved like the Romero movies as a kid, I always gravitated toward House of the Dead just because I really like, and also I was a really big fan of Typing of the Dead.
Typing of the Dead owns. Beautiful game.
So I was really into that.
There was there was an Alien one too where the aliens exploded.
Yeah.
Like Alien Extinction or whatever it was called.
Something like that. Yeah. Actually, I think you're right. I think it is called Alien Extinction.
No, the one I was talking about was Area 51. That one also.
Area 51,
Area
that
51
one
too, for sure.
God, that one was everywhere.
That was another one where
I
it's
found
like,
that even in
it's
weird
just
places.
People popping up behind boxes. Are they shootable or not?
Yeah, dude, if you were at a pizza place from like 1998 to 2005 and they only had like one arcade cabinet, it was probably Area 51.
Like, I got my free personal pan pizza for reading a book. Now I'm gonna down that and run over and play some Area 51.
Yeah, Area 51 and like 1942. I feel like the two games I constantly saw at every pizza place.
Yeah.
It's so fun. All right.
Let's move on to number 7. I don't want to take two. I mean, I'm looking at the time and I'm like, maybe it should have been a top 6, instead of a top 11. My number 7 is a game that probably neither of you have played, and feel pretty strongly that you probably
do not
played it.
recognize it. It's a sushi-based game.
It's called Leisurely Eatery. Sorry. One more take on that.
Leisurely. I love that.
Eatery. It is a arcade cabinet that, to my knowledge, only exists in one place, and that is Wonderville, which is in New York City. In Brooklyn, New York, I should say. And it is a in-residence cabinet, and it's about a family that are all trying to eat specific food. The way they eat the food is you stretch out their hands to grab food off a Lazy Susan in the center, and you put the food on your plate. Now, all of the whole family are all competing, so it's a 4-player game. The whole family is competing to eat specific food that they want. And obviously your priority here at first is to grab food off the Lazy Susan. However, you can also just grab food off the other players' plates as well.
Oh, nice.
So it is a chaotic multiplayer game. It's the Smash Brothers of eating, is what I would describe it as.
I will also say it appears that the art was done in MS Paint. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that literally looks like what they did.
I mean, it looks like an early Dreamcast game, like Parappa the Rapper or something like that. Like it's got that kind of aesthetic to it.
Yeah, it has a Parappa vibe. It's very, very fun. And this is just kind of I don't think you can play this any other way but going to Wonderville. And I really recommend that if you're ever in New York City and you want to have a really cool arcade experience, Wonderville is a place owned by one of the professors that runs the NYU Game Lab. And it's all like independent video game cabinets or stuff that was made by students that were going to NYU. And this was like part of their final project was to make one of these cabinets. Very cool place.
So this game is an indie game. That's why there's only the one of them.
Yeah, this is kind of just the only one that I mean, it might exist in other places, but this is the only place I would know to go see it. And I think it's only going to be there temporarily.
Yeah.
So yeah, check out a video of it online if you can. It's a hilarious game and really fun to play for like 4
I just
people.
spotted what number 6 is, and I love it.
Dude, okay.
Also, I like that you're using the Toy Story.
Toy Story 6. That's the one number that I already recognized. I love that.
Yeah.
Toy Story 6 is so exciting. Go.
Yeah, so number 6 is what is his name? Ivan Rod Stewart. Ivan Rod Stewart's Super Off-Road, which is a 3-player racing game where you where you all play as like sort of monster trucks, and it's a single screen racing game, and it is probably my favorite. Like I think there's one after this we're going to talk about that's a multiplayer game, but it is like. You know how we were talking about NBA Jam is all about yelling at your friends?
Yeah.
This is a yelling racing game. It is so much fun.
It's and it's the thing when we're talking about the difference between cabinets and like home console games, the peripherals is a big part of it. And so one of the things that rules about this game is that you can play racing games at home, but you're rarely going to have 3 steering wheels and 3
unless
pedals.
You're playing like Wii. And have like the Wii
the Wii got closest, but this is it was just so fun to have all of us get steering wheels. It was cool.
Yeah. And also, these steering wheels are notably very, very good. They're the type of steering wheels where you have to turn them a lot to turn.
They're spinner steering wheels.
These wheels spin.
Yeah.
They spin hardcore. So you spend a lot of time just like, you feel like you're doing like tricks, even though you're just basically like, just vaguely turning a giant truck.
Yeah.
Well, they're also, they're really big, they spin really far, and they also have hundreds of people spinning them as hard as they can every day.
Every day,
for years, just really getting them nice and loose, getting them real good and spinny,
Yeah,
that's true. I love it.
Yeah, I called him Ivan Rod Stewart. His name is Ivan Iron Man Stewart. He's like I don't know. I don't even know who that is, but he is the person that somehow sponsored this game. But yeah, super good. Check it out.
I will also say this is one of those games that had a lot of like very pixelated boobs. This was one.
Are there boobies in it? I don't. Oh yeah, the in between screens.
Yeah, like when you win, like the places and stuff are like really weird pixelated bikini ladies in a way that is like not unembarrassing.
Yeah, we gotta get the boys in there,
Yeah.
We gotta get those boys.
That's
just saying that maybe the Iron Man was a little bit of a pervert, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think he was.
You think the guy who goes by Iron Man who drives like off-road derbies is kind of a pervert?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm getting at. Yeah, I do. I'm starting to suspect that of Ivan.
Yeah, one thing about this game that I think is notable is that every chance I've had to play it, I've played through the entire game. Like I cannot this is a game that I cannot
you can't put it down.
Put down. It is so much fun. You also get to upgrade your truck like as you go, which is a very like kind of modern thing. I feel like that this old arcade game just has living.
You earn points to buy better shocks and whatever.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Your top speed, your acceleration, your tires, like it's basically Gran Turismo for idiots, and it's really, really lovely. All right. the next game, my number 5 pick is called Foiled.
Never heard of it.
Which is a game. It's where you both play as characters with fencing rapiers, I guess they're called.
Epes, probably.
Yeah. Oh, or are they epes? I don't know.
Well, they could be rapiers.
Basically, it's sort of a Smash Brothers or Towerfall clone where you basically fight each other with the swords. Whenever you kill your opponent, you grab a bag of coins, and then you have to deliver it to a goal. Meanwhile, your opponent has respawned and can stop you from delivering it to that goal. So you're going to have to defeat your opponent twice in a row. It also has some familiar... if you've ever played the indie game Nidhogg,
yeah,
this is very similar to that, except it all happens on one screen, a la Towerfall. I have played this game so many times with so many different people, and it is the one arcade game I can think of that everyone I have ever played it with clicked into the concept of it immediately. Like it's really rare when you see, especially an arcade game, that you start to play with somebody and they're just like, yep, I get it, and I like it. And so for that reason, I just really, really dig this game.
I've never seen that. It looks super fun. And also, just to clear up from earlier, it is most likely a saber. So there are 3 different fencing swords.
Okay.
There's the epee, the foil, and the saber. And foil, you hold it almost like, it looks like almost a trigger a lot of the time. But saber is the one with the big protector over your hand. And I think saber is the one that you slash around more as opposed to poking, but I'm not positive about that part. But it looks like it's probably a saber. So
yeah,
apologies.
This
to my
is also like
friends at home.
This is like the newest game I think that is on this list. I think I think the arcade cabinet exists in multiple places, but of course I've actually played it at Wonderville. But this is not like a super independent cabinet. Like this is, I think, around. I think you can get to this by other means and in other ways.
Interesting.
But the cabinet is like great. It's like a magic trick. Anytime someone visits me in New York, I'm like, we got to go.
It can be currently played at 2
Foiled.
locations: a Bari in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Wonderville in Brooklyn.
Wow.
According to the website, foiledarcade.com.
Well, that's cool. So there's 2 spots
2 of
you
them.
can play this.
This is such a good 11 Hunter, where you've got just a good mix of like crowd pleasers and like real hipster shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I like to cover the whole gambit.
Yeah.
But okay. Now we're at number 4. This is where stuff gets really. These are the things that are like super important to me. The obvious stuff. Number 4 is Centipede, which is I think one of the most beautiful arcade games ever made.
Yeah.
It was in fact made by an Arkansan. Her name is Donna Bailey, and I've had the pleasure of corresponding with her a little bit. She's a very interesting person. She's been working on getting like a movie or TV show made about the making of Centipede. And there's so many little interesting factoids about Centipede in it. Like, for example, Atari, who published Centipede, noticed that women really liked the game for some reason, that women gravitated to it. And they did no market research as to why, which is really funny to me.
Oh yeah, you mentioned this back in the Halo episode where they were like, they got this interesting information and they were like, weird, and then never thought about it again.
And then they were like, let's just toss that aside. Let's not worry about it.
No, we got to make E.T. right now.
Yeah, we got to. Everybody shut up. We have to make E.T. If you don't know how Centipede works, it is essentially Space Invaders, but everything's cool instead of being like lame and slow.
Well, and so the game is called Centipede, but the centipede is bad. We hate the centipede. We're
no
shooting
good.
the centipede. The centipede just wants to eat mushrooms on its own, and we are like, fuck you, we will shoot you one chunk at a time.
Yes. Yeah. It's a trackball game, which means you can spin and move very, very quickly. Space Invaders, for my money, Space Invaders obviously a very influential game. It's way too slow to be enjoyed by modern people. It just doesn't have the speed I think necessary. Yeah, there you go.
There's a woman playing a centipede.
See? There's just something about it.
We'll never know.
Atari will never know.
No.
They'll never know what happened with it.
I mean, I'm also very curious what about this game. I would just like to know, why is this game, like, of the arcade games, this is one that women tend towards? That's super interesting.
I mean, it sounds weird to guess because it's just like, well, what do I think women are biased towards?
No, whatever you say is going to sound awful. That's why I like it.
It's going to sound awful. I'm going to say it anyways. I think what it is that Centipede is more colorful than other.
Well, I mean, especially when you juxtapose
games of the time.
Yeah, what a row in 1980s arcade cabinets or early 80s, late 70s arcade cabinets.
Right.
What that looked like, right?
Yeah.
You had a very distinct, incredibly like abstract and rigid design, or you had military alien design, or you had Centipede does stand out.
The Wikipedia specifically says that the pastel colors and the trackball appealed to both male and female players. So I have we have this long list from years and years of stand-up comedy of the differences between men and women. But one thing we can add to that is that women love trackballs. That's a thing.
Women love a trackball.
Yeah. You know, ladies be trackballing.
Yeah,
that's funny. Okay, my number 3 game is Asteroids, which is another Atari game.
Pretty famous.
Has the best. I don't really need to explain Asteroids to anyone. I'll just tell you that I have probably put more time into playing Asteroids than I have any arcade cabinet, maybe any game, because at this point there's all this me being a child time, and I just remember standing in front of the cabinet for hundreds of hours. On Saturday I was at Arcadia and spent I don't know how much time standing in front of it. It has the most beautiful vector display I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. The light of that is so cool.
The light of Asteroid. I mean, if you've never, some people think they've played Asteroids because it was like packed in on like their PC or whatever.
Sure,
you have not. You have not played it until you play it on a cabinet because it's insane. It's the most insane looking. You know what? I'll say it right now. Asteroids, best graphics of any video game I've ever played. The best graphics.
That's such a great controversial take. I love it. Good for you.
That time of vector, like pre-sprites, pre-polygons, when like vector graphics were like the main thing they had.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it, Asteroids is kind of like the opposite of what we were talking about with Time Crisis as a title. Like, it's also a very good title. But the way that Time Crisis can kind of mean anything, Asteroids really, you know what Asteroids is.
It's just like Centipede. You don't know if they're the good guys or the bad guy. Because in Asteroids, just like in Centipede, your goal is to fuck up the namesake.
Yeah,
right.
But
you're a triangle who hates asteroids. That's the point of that game.
Asteroids have ever been good guys in anything.
No,
so
asteroids
I think you know pretty
guys.
Well that they're bad guys. It would be
they're
a cool
obstacles.
thing.
Also, you do get attacked by little flying saucer guys. So it's not.
Yeah, there's also saucer guys, but the Yeah, all right. I guess I want to write something now where the asteroid is the hero.
I was just gonna say it seems like a Pixar movie, like
it really a Pixar short at least.
Yeah, like
the asteroids have
asteroids in love or something. Yeah. Oh, it'd be like an asteroid is in love with a planet and they pass, or like a comet and a planet and they pass very briefly and then keep thinking about each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love
That's my pitch to. If anybody out there is a Pixar short director, get at me.
That sounds like 5 centimeters per second, but with rocks in space, and that sounds really beautiful to me.
Yeah, like if the planet had like a bunch of like people on it destroying it, and the planet was like, "Please come and crash into me,
get rid of them."
Like you could kind of do it as like a happy story.
Knowing what we know now about triangles, I think we want to let the asteroids win in the long run.
I like that. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 2 game. My number 2 arcade cabinet. Another one that I've spent an unholy amount of time with. That I don't know. I have no idea how much time I spent doing this. Is Sega's Outrun, which is a game about driving a Ferrari with a cool lady with you, and you're presumably in like Miami, or actually you're kind of just all over the United States depending on which track you take. It is Sega racing games in general are probably my favorite genre of arcade game, in that I think there's so many that feel so good to play, and I think in general the experience of playing a racing game to me is the quintessential arcade experience, especially if we're talking single player. If we're not playing with our friends, we have a bunch of time. We're going to sit down in the cabinet and race. I just feel like it doesn't get any better. I mean, Outrun is probably my favorite pure example of this type of game, but like Daytona USA, even Crazy Taxi, like stuff like that is just so fun to sit down in. You know,
I mean, I love Outrun so much that like in the Yakuza games, you can go to arcades and play Outrun.
Yeah,
I love doing that. I love the idea of like because I can't just go to an arcade, but there's something about like I love the Yakuza games and I really love the fantasy. And one of the things that the games are so good is like immersing yourself. I'm a stern Yakuza who spends his days off at an arcade playing Outrun. It's just such a fucking
just driving along the beach
fantasy.
with a hot lady.
Yeah, dude. It's
there's
awesome. Nothing better. It's a wishful. Yeah, go ahead.
I just also like it's a sitting down racing game. It's got the chair and the pedals, and it's like that level of immersive that you can't do at home as easily. And it's got the speakers behind your ears. Setup that I like from an arcade cabinet. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and the soundtrack, the music of Outrun is so iconic that it spawned its own music genre. And I would say like is kind of underrated in culture for like how influential it was, as far as like kind of I think keeping like a retro wave or like 80s like kind of synthy vibe always alive, just because I think that music just like really got into people. And to me, it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's like maybe my favorite arcade soundtrack of all time. Maybe one of my favorite video game soundtracks of all time is just
I was going to say that I've played this game and then I realized I haven't. And I assumed this is a ripoff or a competitor. I played a lot of Cruisin' USA.
Yeah.
Which is a similar racing cabinet where you're also driving around a red Ferrari. And on beaches and stuff, but it's a different game, which is a Midway Nintendo joint instead of a Sega joint.
They had a cabinet for, well, maybe not for Cruisin' USA. It may have been for Cruisin' World.
They definitely did for Cruisin' USA, I'm saying, but it was like it was a co-production of Midway games for the arcade, and then Nintendo did a version of it.
Yeah, I find what is much more impressive about Outrun is that I really like fake 3D, or like what I forget what you call this visual style of like where it's all like sprite art, but they're presenting it's scrolling towards the screen in a way that makes it appear to be a 3D game.
Forced perspective almost?
Yeah, it's like forced perspective scrolling.
Yeah, it's the sprites are scaling as they come closer towards you, they're getting bigger. They're not actually moving, they're just changing in size.
Yes. It's like move the objects towards the player instead of actually having the player really move at all or navigate a 3D space, because there is no 3D space. But the art of Outrun, it's like a dream. It's like a beautiful dream.
It was really cool.
Yeah, like you're the player. You're only moving on the front plane in front of you, left and right.
Yeah.
But it looks like you're driving. It's a great
Hunter. I have no idea. I don't know what to say. Give me to number one. I'm so confused. I accidentally glimpsed it, and now I'm fucking befuddled.
Okay, so those of you that listen to Old Gamers Almanac are probably pretty surprised that Outrun is my number 2 arcade game, because I'm sure you've heard me talk about Outrun on the show, and you're like, oh, I thought that was Hunter's favorite arcade game. Well, I just recently was at Arcadia Retrocade on Saturday, and I found a new top one. Number 1 arcade game of all time. And it is called, and this is a game I held in my hands and I played myself at Arcadia, which makes it an arcade game, Waluigi's Taco Stand for the Nintendo 64, which is a cartridge that I had that I plugged into an N64 at an arcade. Is a game about Waluigi.
Your favorite cabinet is a Nintendo 64.
It's a Nintendo 64 game I played at an arcade. So that is, what is the difference, I ask you? I wasn't at home. It wasn't a home experience. Waluigi's Taco Stand.
3. Asteroids is 3.
It's not as good as Waluigi's Taco Stand.
No.
Yeah.
Tell me about Waluigi's Taco Stand. So I do love this Nintendo thing where they created a villain and then later were like, what if he owns a taco shop? That's fun.
That's what happened. That's definitely what happened.
Yeah, this is not. What is this? I don't. What is?
Yeah, what is
Waluigi's
this? What's
Taco Stand
happening,
is a
Hunter?
game where you play as Waluigi and you get orders for your taco stand as far as what kind of tacos people want.
Right.
Then you go out to the taco fields and you collect the taco
what?
ingredients. If you
who
collect
made
the wrong ingredients, they get mad and you do not move forward. Any
Who
other
made
questions?
this?
Who made this?
Yeah.
Looks
Well,
like
it says
Nintendo?
right there. It says
No,
only
no,
for
this
Nintendo
is-
64, and it
But
says
it's on the
that's
game card. This is
official
Nintendo.
games,
So this is a custom
that
because
people have
I
made.
pulled this up. I was googling this and I found something that said that this is a fan fiction game made years after a meme about Waluigi's Taco Stand,
Yes,
and so this is a custom game cartridge. It
be
came out in
whatever you want it to
2018,
be.
and the plot is that Waluigi spent all his money at the casino. And
Yes.
Mr.
That sounds
Rent
about right.
allowed him to work off his debt working at a taco stand.
That
Which is,
sounds
by the
about
way,
right.
completely explained at the beginning of this game. There are
This is-
cutscenes at the beginning of the game to explain the plot
This is
of Waluigi's
wild.
Taco
This is
Stand.
wild. And I can see why it's marginally better than Asteroids.
It's one of the greatest games ever made. I mean, obviously, it's the greatest arcade game ever made.
Yeah, for sure.
Not the greatest N64 game, but pretty good. It's pretty good.
Hunter, thank you so much for giving us
Yeah.
your top 11 arcade
welcome.
cabinets.
Thank you, Waluigi.
We have time to rank this now on the master list, so let's do that. But first, let me tell you that our show today is brought to you by our Patreon members, people who become our besties on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/BTEpod to help support the show. And if you donate to the show, you can get such great things as thank yous on air, including long, absurd statements, segments in your honor, stickers, mugs, and other things. And if you donate enough, you get your name listed in the credits as a producer of the show. We really appreciate everybody who donates to the Patreon at patreon.com/BTEpod. And thank you guys for donating. And we'd love to get some more of you. Let's move on to ranking. All right,
Well,
we
hold
have
up.
16 things currently on the master list. Hunter, why don't you read them out loud as you discover them for yourself?
Yeah.
Hunter,
some of
what are
these
the best
new.
things of all time?
Okay, number 1, warm beverages. Number 2, firefighters. Number 3, My Neighbor Totoro. Pro wrestling. Romance novels. Trees. Advice columns. Variety. Okay. The Sun. Fresh bread. Nordic track. Stand-up comedy. Powerlifting. Cat videos. Playing Halo with the boys. Waffle House.
At number
Yeah.
16, the Mighty have Fallen
Number
Waffle House
16
at number 16.
Waffle House.
Hunter, if you could
What
put
is
it anywhere else,
variety
because
and what is variety?
it's the spice of life.
Just variety in
Yes.
y'all ranked
The
variety,
concept of doing and liking different things at different times.
and it's number
It's so
8.
weird.
It has to be right in the
Variety
middle.
is-
Where would you put variety? It has to be right in the middle. It's the only place for variety to be. What's weird is it took us like 40 minutes to get there, but that's the obvious place for it to be.
I think variety.
Yeah, dude.
I think
Some people
variety
can't
might
pick
be
a favorite
too.
thing.
I can't believe that's what y'all did. I didn't even know. That's crazy.
Well, you could go back and listen to the episode, but my friend Kyle Sheely, TikTok fame, couldn't pick a best thing ever. He just can't. He doesn't like picking a favorite thing. He doesn't like committing to one thing.
Okay.
Everything is good in different situations, and so he wanted to talk about variety as a concept. And
I just
once you
wanna say
do
my-
that,
Had I been on that episode, my vote would have been that variety is like a cheat code. That this is maybe the end game of the show is
Yes.
us ranking things like variety. Like
I suspect
I feel
now
like-
that he's gone, it'll actually go down the list. I feel like part of the fun of this is specificity. So
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm gonna just throw this out with an opening lob. I think arcades are better than variety. I mean, I think we can say that.
I
know?
do.
And
I-
here's I want to say this. You know what? Fucking arcades need us right now. all
It's
right?
true.
Arcades are struggling. They are dying. All right. They are sliding into irrelevance. People are working really hard every day to keep this fucking fire alive. People are
Yep.
carrying the light. And I swear to God, if we do dirty by arcades right now, we might be responsible for killing them.
People
forever.
are out there every day in the taco fields keeping arcades going, and it's they deserve. I'll just say this: arcades number 3.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I
mean,
think,
right
I can
now, at
respect
this
that.
very second, no matter when you're listening to this, some fucking tech is putting their hand in a machine and getting shocked. Right?
Yeah.
That is happening right now.
Yeah. For you,
Right?
If this was my own list, Waffle House would be number 1, arcades would be number 2. So I'll say
Waffle House was number 1.
was number 1. Yeah. But
so it has been
tricky-
there.
That tricky.
It's loved and lost.
I still don't understand how that happened. I don't remember
because
what
the top goes to the
was.
bottom,
I
goes
think you were
to the
going.
top.
Were you
Yeah.
there for? We did a
I
re-rank
was
on our
there for
topic
that.
draft, and each person could change one thing up or down. And Waffle House got moved up too far, and that makes it back. It's just like the board in Asteroids. You can go off one side in the other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would be willing to go as high as number 2, but number 3 also makes me pretty happy.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
I would have trouble putting it above Firefighters right now, but I have no trouble putting it above everything else on this list. I think.
Yeah, I think I was
also,
raised by
Hunter?
firefighters.
Yes.
I mean, but weren't you also kind of raised by the arcade?
Right.
Yeah,
Together.
see,
So that's why they're shooting
Isn't
three.
it?
Isn't it?
Yeah. Good.
I was raised by firefighters, but I became an adult in the arcade.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very pleased with this, and I'm glad this is one of our easier rankings, and so I think we should feel good coming out of this. Arcades are now the number 3 spot on the master list between like not as good as Firefighters, but better than My Neighbor Totoro, and that is that. Let's do some business. I have a quick letter here I want to talk about from last week. Hunter, this will mean very little to you, but we will have a Hunter tie-in, I promise. So this is from sister of the show, Julia, who wrote in to tell me, we were talking about, last week with Kyle, we were talking about stadium names, and he was talking about how Ball Aerospace bought a company called Jeffco, and we were having fun just about Jeff naming his company Jeffco. Turns out Jeffco is not founded by some guy named Jeff, and it's not named after a guy named Jeff. It's named after the area it's located in Colorado, Jefferson County, which is the Hunter tie-in. You also had a Jefferson County. This one was in Colorado, but a lot of people call Jefferson County Jeffco, and so the company was Jeffco Manufacturing in Jefferson County, Colorado, which also, because it's CO for Colorado, it could be Jeffco Co., which is how I would say it. So I appreciate that correction and that addition. We didn't want to overcredit Jeff with doing anything too good. But it got me thinking about some more stadium names while I was looking at this. So, Anthony, I don't know if you saw this. We talked about Crypto.com Arena last week. Crypto.com Arena announced they're going to keep the name despite Crypto.com not existing anymore.
Wow.
Old move.
But in Miami last year, they changed the name, or earlier this year, they changed the name of the FTX Arena because they canceled their contract because FTX was a criminal enterprise, and they decided not to keep that. So they changed their name to Kaseya Arena, which is a software company that makes IT and security software for, get this, you guys, defense contractors.
Wow.
Hunter, that would be even better for you if you'd heard the episode, but that is still exciting for you.
I mean, like Miami, really good at defense, right? Isn't that kind of one of the things? I don't know anything about basketball.
You meant I was thinking like how defensible the city of Miami is from the sea.
Like,
but yeah.
The team, right? Isn't it? If you make defense software, you would come in and be like, look, we do one thing here. Defense.
Yeah.
Really
Defense wins championships. Well, unfortunately, fortunately, actually, they lost the championship to Denver, which is a cooler team and also better at defense. So no, not in this case. But it was a good sports effort. Also, my least favorite names. I can't believe we didn't talk about this last week. The worst named stadiums in America, I think.
Oh, Smoothie King.
Smoothie King is is up in New Orleans. Smoothie King Center is an insane name, but in terms of the marketing of like what your stadium name does, we were talking about this last week, Hunter, which is that so the Crypto.com Arena is because they were trying to build the lowest level of a pyramid for their pyramid scheme, needed to have reach for everybody in the world, stadium naming. Whereas Ball Aerospace wanted to just sell 3 new satellites to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So that's a very narrow marketing that you do with your huge naming rights. Right. But what I love about Smoothie King is they're the only, one of the only stadiums where I feel like, and actually KFC Yum Center is kind of like this too, where they're like, just hoping people on the way out will see the sign and be like, you know what? Yeah. And then go get a smoothie. They're like, it's actually marketing to the people there in the moment, which I enjoy. But also, KFC Yum Center in Louisville is an unbelievably terrible name for a stadium. KFC Yum exclamation point center. No one says that. That's awful.
I mean, isn't there like a part of it that's like, as a company, you don't want a bunch of money just sitting around because then people are like, hey, what are you going to do with that money? So it's like, we got to do something with this money. We can't just like have it like here.
You're saying they have like $200 million burning a hole in their pocket.
Yeah, I mean, if you just had like $200 million in a room, investors and employees are going to be like, what's up
when are
with
you going to give that to us? Right. So you spend it on naming a stadium.
Yeah.
No one asks questions. Yeah, that's very possible.
This is also like, basketball is not a good movie, but like they make a joke about this in the beginning, and like that was 20 years ago.
It's a bad movie with good jokes, some good jokes, but yeah.
But like we have like caught up to the ridiculous names in the opening of that movie.
Yes, I think that is true. I mean, the one in Chicago, guaranteed rate field. Atrocious sentence to say out of your mouth. That just what an awful.
That's good.
Like the thing. So we're talking about Ball Arena in Denver. Dope name because you're playing basketball in the Ball Arena. It works cool.
Ball
it sounds
Arena.
good. It works.
Yeah.
And you're advertising Ball Aerospace. But saying do you guys want to go see a game at the guaranteed rate field is just so bad.
Yeah, nobody's gonna say that.
No one's gonna say it.
It's if your name is so dumb, no one's even gonna repeat it.
I mean,
like, what's the point?
The fucked up thing is contractually, dozens of people have to say that.
Right. Yeah,
name
the coaches and team and players and stuff have to say it. Well, the Crypto.com was interesting because that arena, people here just call it the Crypt, which is actually kind of dope.
Yeah, that is dope.
And it isn't referencing a pyramid scheme, so I like that a lot. So thank you, Julia, for the correction on Jeffco and for giving me a chance to talk a little more about stadium names. Next week, topic is yet to be determined. We're still talking to some people about booking, so I don't know that, but you'll find out. By the time you hear this, we'll know, and maybe it'll be mentioned somewhere in the credits. I don't know. Who knows? All right, let's get going. Let's go home, you guys. Thanks for a good episode.
Yeah, let's go home.
Our theme music is by @Metrix. Our logo design is by @TomTypography. You can find us on Instagram @BTE Pod. And I'm just going to remove the Twitter portion of this. Don't find us on Twitter. I don't want to go there. You shouldn't be there either.
Yeah.
It's bad. The Nazi website is fine without us. You can find us on YouTube @Alex Falcone. You can watch along, get all these great visuals, see pictures of these arcade cabinets as you're listening to the pod. YouTube.com/Alex Falcone. You can also leave us an honest 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people discover the show. And you want that, right? You do. You don't want to keep this a secret. You can send us an email, mail@bestthingeverpodcast.com. The show is produced by our super Patreons, Ranger Patrick, John the Consigliere, the Duke of Jail, the Best Assistant Regional Manager Sean, and Claire TBD. We really appreciate all of them. You can join them, patreon.com/BTEpod. Going back to the beginning of our fun facts, the fact I made up was that Anthony did not work on Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Really did a good job of keeping the poker face on that. People couldn't tell.
Well, I mean, I did work on Grand Theft Auto 6, but that's a different thing. You know?
Yeah, you can't talk about that.
I was trying to find a game that seemed about right, and I thought of you doing it when you were like 15, 16. I didn't think you were 12 when that came out, but I was trying to...
No, I think I probably was like 15, 16. I don't know how actually what year that came out. I was pretty
2004.
young.
2004.
2004. Okay. So I was 16.
Old enough to work there?
Yeah. I don't think I was old enough to work at Rockstar New York or Rockstar
Well, but my understanding is that a lot of game testers are younger kids, college kids, whatever. There's a lot of, like, we knew a bunch of game testers in Portland who were all super sad, but they were like remote testing games. Like they'd send you a game and you just send bug reports back. Doesn't seem like it's as fun as it should be.
No, it actually is a nightmare. You're not playing the game. You're trying to break the game and doing every possible variation of the same thing.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
See what breaks it and what doesn't break it.
I remember hearing about this guy that was a game tester for like sports games, and that meant he just had to run like the season modes like over and over and over with every possible variation he could come up with. Yeah, that just sounds nightmarish.
It's just like when somebody's like, "Oh, ice cream taster is the best job in the world because you're eating ice cream," and I just feel like it would ruin the thing for you so fast. Not like that.
Yeah, but no, you're not. But the thing is, like, you don't have to like imagine if you had to eat ice cream, every new flavor of ice cream with every possible type of spoon there was.
Yeah.
In every possible type of room, in every possible type of shoe. right? Like, that is what a game tester does. It's just like,
that's so true.
I gotta
sounds
change
awful.
this little thing, try that.
It would be like if they were like, listen, you can't just have a spoonful of it because we need you to have the full experience. So what we expect you to do
is the flavor the same down at that bottom corner. So eat your way to it.
We need you to eat the whole cone and then have another one and then have another one.
You document exactly how many bites you took before it broke. And like make sure you have very detailed notes to send to the ice cream makers.
No thanks.
So Anthony didn't do that. Hunter did, as we discussed plenty of details, have that possibly record-setting speed run, although unproven. And also, in fact, I did used to run a website about pinball. So my friends and I ran a up-to-the-minute database of all the pinball machines in Reno, what you could find at each location, and what kind of shape they were in.
I love websites like that. I always look for websites like that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it wasn't like huge amounts of traffic, but every couple of days somebody would be like, hey, I'm coming through town on business, thank you so much, I've been looking for this machine, and I went to the place and it was fun. Like, it was like, it's a very niche thing, and we were like on a list of like every city, here's the pinball website in that city, and so we were part of that network for a while, although later it got way easier to make that one big database for everywhere. I don't know how up to date it is, but yeah, we would just drive around and just check out what pinball machines were still there and how playable they were, just mostly for us. We wanted to keep track of stuff and be like, let's go find, there's only 2 places that have this game in working order, let's go over there and play that.
Right, that rules. Alex, someday I want your top 10 pinball boards or whatever.
Oh yeah, I should have had that ready just to come back at you. I would do 11 because that's the number people always do when they're talking about their favorites.
Did you ever try to shake down the owners, being like, it'd be a shame if I left you off this list?
We actually, we didn't do that, but we did use it to make, like, from that website's domain, we'd like emailed the repair people, the repair techs at one of the main companies, because like most arcade machines in a place like Reno, there's probably true in other places too, but they're like one central company that leases them out and then they run the repair service. And so we were tapped into their repair people so we could email them updates and they would ask us if stuff was working. Like, we would go back and forth with information with them about it. And also, like, a lot of them they would rotate the machines, so we would get updates when they were going to rotate, and we would also ask them if they had something in the garage, can you rotate this in somewhere? So it was a fun little side project that actually worked pretty well for a little while. So yeah, I'd be glad to give you my top 11 pinball cabinets, and it would certainly end with something that somebody made up that you could only play in one place. That's how I would do it, for sure.
There you go. I started a tradition.
It's how that's how our lists work. It's top 11, but number 1 is horse shit every time. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody listening, and we will be back next week with a new episode. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.